In reality, fins, for the most part, okay, air quotes, for the most part, are to catch you when you're doing something wrong. What's up, everyone? Shaun Murray here, and I got this magical box of history. I mean, it's not magic, but check it out. I don't know how long I've had this toolbox, but it's not really for tools. It's more for like wake history. I go here a lot for different, when I'm doing challenges or need hardware. So I've got current and old hardware, okay? So you might recognize some things in here. If you've been around the sport for a while, you'll see like maybe some of the G-bolt things. Oh, this is kind of cool. This is a prototype of the first claw. I've got a bunch of the old claws. Got a lot of those. But what we're doing today is an edit on fins. Not really these kind of fins, but these kind of fins. How about that throwback right there? The rainbow fins. But what we're doing is a kind of a why do you use fins? Why fins? Why use them? Right? So here's just some fun. This is the cleaver, the 2-inch fin. This is where fins, well, not even started. Okay, this is closer to some of the first fins. Man, there's so much in here. We had aluminum fins. This is a fin that I cut down. Okay, here. This is one of the first hyperlight fins. And pretty big, right? So what a fin is supposed to do, man, I keep getting distracted. Here's a prototype fin that I did at the factory, 11203. So I did this thing almost 20 years ago. You know, I thought maybe like for pressing, maybe, I don't know. That was a prototype, never came to fruition. So let's grab a couple old fins, we'll talk about it. So why fins? And what do they do? Well, a fin is meant to keep your board tracking straight. And honestly, for the most part, okay, that in air quotes, for the most part, fins are there to catch you when you're doing something wrong. Because honestly, you can ride without fins. In today's edit, I'm gonna show you guys, I'm gonna go out and ride finless and see, not necessarily what's possible, but just to show you that you can still get a lot of power, a lot of control, pop, do some tricks. I'm not gonna do anything crazy. I am gonna go out, and the intention is to show you guys you can ride finless. But you've gotta be pretty spot on. So fins, what they're meant to do is the water wraps around the fin and it has equal pressure on both sides when it's going straight. So this is where fins started. But as we started to get deeper into the sport, we realized, well, they don't need to be as big. So this is a 2-inch fin, and that's this distance. So they kind of got shorter. And then we realized, well, we don't necessarily need this height, but we do want surface area. So then the fins started to evolve into this. So we still actually have almost as much surface area, not quite, but then we shortened it up. The reason for us going to this, and this is closer to what I'm using right now. In fact, it's the exact same shape, but the fins I'm using now are plastic. This is an aluminum fin, it's a 0.8-inch fin. And what happens is the water is going around the fin and the water goes around it and then it captures back around the other side and it keeps the board tracking straight. What that allows you to do is when the board is tracking straight, as you begin to edge in a direction, it is actually the surface area of the board pushing you. Similar to if you take your hand out the car window and you want your hand to steer left and right. If you even had a decent sized fin on and you did this, it wouldn't necessarily do much tracking. In fact, if you turn it sideways, it would create high pressure on one side and low pressure on the other. And so it's actually by exposing your hand, all of that wind is pushing your hand to the side, and our boards act in a similar fashion. So when we get on the board's edge, it's actually the water pushing the surface of the board, not necessarily the fin. The reason I say that is I see people a lot of times riding with too much fin, and what that does is it allows you to get away with too many bad habits, and that'll actually keep you from progressing in the sport, so you kind of plateau. It'll also allow you to not have to edge through the wake to get pop. And if you look back at some of my videos on how to generate pop, like the 3 fundamentals, or some of the videos, we'll put some links in the description below on how to get pop even with a small wake. That's a video that explains how the surface of the board and your body position can put you into the air. If you end up riding with too much fin, you're not necessarily going to need to use those fundamentals, and you end up kind of plateauing. So it's all to say, can you ride without fins? Yes, but you have to be pretty spot on. If you see people riding at the cable or wake parks, you'll see them riding without fins, yet they can cut really hard. It's because they're using surface area. But when we ride boat, we could use a little bit more help more often, and so that's why we ride a little bit of fin. So for people who are just starting, you could get into a little bit bigger of a fin, like a 1 inch, but you don't have to. So that's why I send my boards out with a 0.8 inch fin. It's a really good meeting ground of giving you just the right amount. So what are some ways that you can go and actually still ride with fins, yet do surface spins? If you watch some of this video we've just got, what I want you guys to understand is that when you are riding, you're always standing tall on top of the board, leaning against the line. And it's a fun drill you can do is you put the speed to about 12 miles an hour. Hey, do you want to go on the tripod?
Be helpful.
Let's go on the tripod. So a fun drill that you guys can do is put the speed about 12, maybe 13 miles an hour straight behind the boat and practice surface 180s. What I see people do a lot of times is when they go to do a surface 180, they think they need to make sure that the toe side edge of the board doesn't catch, which is fine to think that, and you do want to make sure you do that, but they do that by rocking back onto their heels, by tilting their hips away from the handle and lifting their toes. Can you do that? Yes, but that is actually what I call disconnecting. And if you look at the video where I talk about the 3 fundamentals, disconnecting is one of the biggest mistakes that people run into, and you want to keep your hips connected. So what you do is you stand tall, lean against the line, shoulders leaning back against the line with your hips connected, and to release the fins. This is the whole key of what we're talking about here. To release the fins, you actually put pressure on the fins to push them in the direction you want them to go. So what that means is you're going to take pressure on your back foot and push the fins free. When you feel that, you're gonna realize that it's not lifting the fins out of the water, which I thought when I was younger. You don't lift the fins out of the water. You don't have to ollie the fins out of the water, but what you're doing is you're putting pressure. And what you're doing is as you're pushing that fin forward, you're putting pressure on one side of the fin so that water is not wrapping around it, and you create low pressure on the other side of the fin, and that releases that traction. And so then you can begin that spin. So remember, it's putting pressure. And you can see that when I do this drill, I've got fins on one side and no fins on the other, and it is the same. Whether you have fins or no fins, your body is still leaning against the line. Hips are connected, pressure on your back foot, and continue pushing all the way around until you lock into your new foot forward. So whether I'm riding left foot forward, right foot forward, I'm always leaning against the line. And really think of it this way. You're in a cylinder and you're always inside that cylinder. But I see people breaking at the waist so that their bottom sticks out, their chest goes forward, and they would essentially break that cylinder with their lower body and their shoulders. And so what you want to make sure you're doing is staying inside that cylinder at all times. So this, like I said, is a fun drill, slow speed, and then you can go ahead and start to do it at faster speeds. But I recommend, don't ever do these surface 180s straight behind the boat at normal speed. The reason being is there's actually a lot of different contours back there, and your board can catch an edge. If you're gonna do surface 180s, do it outside of the wake in the flats or on top of the wake. But super fun. Take the fins off, go experiment, see what you can do. So here's a quick set with me riding with fins. And then I'm going to transition over to without fins and show you that it's the same technique. I just have to be very intentional. And most likely I'm going to probably have some slip outs and some slide outs, but it's to say that you can totally ride with or without fins. I'm taking the fins off to show you can ride without fins. But don't get me wrong, it's not easy to ride without fins. There's some guys who ride boat without fins. The fins that I like to ride are 0.8-inch fins. That allows me to still have a playful, fun board, kind of loose when you want it to be, but also helps when you need it. This is actually kind of difficult, what I'm getting ready to do. But I want to show you guys you can ride without fins. It's actually pretty playful and fun. And I'm not gonna go crazy. This is all like pretty basic stuff. But the idea is just to show that fins are not necessary, but pretty helpful. Is that a good way to put it, Jake?
I think so. I like it. I'd watch it.
Hey, I subscribed to your channel.
Hey, thanks.
Ready? Well, thank you guys for following along and checking out some wake history, some fins. And hopefully you guys have got a better understanding of how fins work, why they work, and what you should be riding. If you guys have questions or comments about fins or other ideas, things you want to learn, please put those below. And you can also find other helpful information in those links. You can always go check out more information on me and some of the companies that I work with at ShaunMurray.com. And of course, Hyperlite. I've been with this company for over 25 years, been using their fins ever since, and always appreciate it when you guys like and share. And if you don't subscribe, maybe consider doing that right now. And if you do that and you want to see when videos go live right away, maybe try to get that first comment, hit that notifications bell. And no matter what you're doing, always enjoy your ride. Peace. It's always the hardest box to close.